Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I'm a second career registered nurse focused mainly in the areas of palliative care and hospice care. Those are two separate services. And I'm a certified end-of-life doula through the International Doula Life Movement. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit. In this channel, we talk about issues related to death and dying. This morning, I was at a business breakfast. That's going to be part of the topic in fact, the main topic for today's video, and I'm going to try to keep it short. Please don't laugh for those of you who've watched my previous videos for what short might mean. But I was talking to one of the business owners, a nonprofit business, saying, our healthcare system's so convoluted, and we were discussing, when you're a parent, you're planning, what color is the bedroom, and you're already planning the education that you think that they might want or desire, and you're doing that, they may not even be born yet. I remember my wife and I planning for our daughter's wedding shower. She's not pregnant. They're discussing that now. Do they deal with natural pregnancy versus adoption, but they're doing all the planning for that now. Why does death get put aside? That's its own mysterious question that I hope as we have discussions that death becomes less of a stigma. So I'll have video discussions for my fellow hospice nurses. I've had videos about how when you're doing an admission for hospice, it is so critically important to interview the patient, the caregivers, the family members, to really paint the picture of why hospice, why now. I've had videos for my fellow caregivers, anticipatory grief and grieving, for my fellow holistic nurses. And some of them are crossovers. Like I did a video recently on how do you read the FAST scale, the functional assessment staging tool, to determine any stage, I shouldn't say determine the stage of any type of dementia. And I'll have videos from my fellow end-of-life doulas, which is part of today's topic. And I'll have videos on my journey as a book author. Looking back, which I was doing and trying to prepare, I am autistic and I'm weird. But I was preparing for today's breakfast that we're going to be talking about in a few moments, and that part will be short. But as I'm preparing it, I'm working on my elevator speech, because you're normally they go around the table and you introduce yourself and who do you work for and what do you have to offer. As a book author, I've written 21 books for hospice nurses. Many of them are used nationwide, and I'm really hoping that my Mastering Hospice Eligibility book will replace Quick Flips, because hospice should be prognosis driven, not LCD driven. I'm not saying LCDs, that's local coverage determinants. Yes, they're a part of the equation, but it should not be related on the LCDs. It should be all prognosis driven. So I have 21 books for hospice nurses, 22 books for caregivers, 4 books for holistic nurses, for which one of the books, my motivational interviewing book, is used by Marie Peppers. She has an entire series of courses. We're not talking just one class, courses to help LPNs and RNs work remotely for different insurance companies and other providers. And she does this nationwide, and for 2 of her courses, she requires my motivational interviewing book. And I have 5 books from my fellow end-of-life doulas. I'm currently working on the 6th, hopefully to publish either later this month or in September. And as part of being an instructor for the International Doula Life Movement, this coming Sunday, August 10th, open to the public for a very small fee of $10.95. I believe that's a fair value for an hour-long discussion. We get to interact and ask questions and bounce things off of the other people there. Plus, those who are going are going to get 4 handouts, a copy of the recording. That's very fitting. I'm also developing an entire 16-week course based on, this is one of my bestsellers of the doula genre, Crucial End-of-Life Conversations for end-of-life professionals. So, moving forward, the topic for today's video is going to be for my fellow end-of-life doulas, especially the new ones out there. And it's going to be about getting out in the community. And I'm going to hit on 2 or 3 different points, and I'm going to try to keep them brief. Please don't laugh. You're allowed to. But before we go on, and this time I'm only going to talk about the third pillar, I strongly believe we need to build resilience. I cannot tell you how often, and this even happened last night. I took a phone call last night from a spouse who I talked to on Friday of last week, encouraging, please get hospice involved. It's your decision, but everything you're describing, please. And she did. But there were questions about morphine, that word that should not scare anybody because it's 50% weaker than oxycodone. It gets in and out of your system faster than oxycodone. But it's a word that drives fear even into nurses, and this was a nurse, long term, served our country as a veteran. It's still a scary word. So comes up often. Can you do this? I'll hear several things. It takes a special person to do this. And I don't want to ever minimize the thanks I receive or what God allows me to do. Sometimes it's hard for me to think myself as a special person. If you watch my video about being saved by Christ Jesus, you might get a glimpse of what I think about myself, and it's not high and mighty. If somebody can be the opposite of President Trump and President Obama, and former President Biden, both former President Obama and former President Biden, all 3 of them, I'm not trying to pick on anyone or say one's better than the other. They're all 3 are narcissistic. They all think they're way up there. I'm the exact opposite. I'm the one who is a reason for me to exist type of person. I'm not talking suicide, by the way. Don't freak out. But anyway, the 3 pillars, I'm going to focus on the third, gratitude. What am I grateful for? So I want to be grateful for one of the topics for today. I am grateful for Sandy Adams and Just Love Coffee. Just Love Coffee is in Berea, Kentucky. Sandy Adams and her husband, I believe it's Bill, please, my short-term memory, but I believe that's Sandy. Please comment below if I got it wrong. But Sandy was giving some of the backstory about the creation of Just Love Coffee today. And I'm just so grateful for Sandy, for Just Love Coffee, for Helen. She didn't get to make today's event. Ellen, I'm still getting to know people in Berea, so let me know. And I did give you an update of what's coming for the rest of this month and early next month. I'm still not sure who to give reminders to for what, because like I'm the new person to the block type of thing. But Sandy, Helen, they're really promoting new businesses like mine to get involved, to be out there, and to be welcome. And one of the things I like about Sandy, and there's many things, is she will bring up that people who are at the top, I'm not talking narcissistic, I'm not talking arrogant, but people who are at the top of their field, the top of their game, they collaborate. How do we work together? How do we build up one another? They're okay lifting up somebody else and not worrying about whether they're going to be lifted up at all. Bottom feeders push people out of the way and they compete. And so that's one of Sandy's sayings, which I agree with and appreciate. And Helen, who runs Mama Bear, she's not only an injury lawyer, she's a legal American immigrant. This past weekend, Helen, correct me if I'm wrong, your 24th American birthday. And not only does she promote civil rights and new business and She helped to get me in on an event that I'm looking forward to on the 18th, even though I'm scared to pieces as an introvert and autistic. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for these opportunities. So let's get into today's topic. And I want to hit right now two main things come to mind. As I'm going over these things with you, I just want to remind my new viewers and my old ones, I do not use a teleprompter. I'm not saying it's wrong if you use one. I don't have a script. I'm not saying it's wrong if you used one. But I believe that when we're out there in the real world, which is the topic for today's video, we're not going to have teleprompters. We're not going to have scripts. I'm not saying we might not have cheat sheets. We may have to refer to, but we have to be able to get comfortable in our own flesh. And sometimes that's awkward and nerve-wracking. So today, in terms of like going over the topic, I want to go over two. And this, I'm publishing this the actual day of the filming. This is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. There's a video that I already recorded. It's coming out tomorrow. By the way, for tomorrow's video, towards the very end, there's going to be a comment. There might have been one on the intro. Uh, there might be a video attached to this. There isn't. I'm doing this separate and publishing it today. But I participate in a number of social media venues. Now, social media, as you know, I'm not trying to be facetious or sarcastic. It's electronic. It's part of life for today, but it's not face to face. You're not getting the body language, which is what, 75% or more of communication. You're not getting the tone of voice. I mean, you could write a certain way. I try to write a certain way for my tone of voice for my book writing. I was so blessed. This goes another gratitude comment. So I believe Serena, I was on a Sunday mentor call with the International Doula Life Movement. I cannot endorse them enough, by the way, if you're looking for schools for becoming a doula or additional certifications. The compassion of everyone there. And I'm not saying I agree with every single thing that's spoken or written, etc. But overall, what amazing. I don't have enough good words to say. But Serena said, "Hey, Peter, I got your book, and it is so helpful for me for having these discussions because she's brand new on the floor. So this is what topic. We're brand new doulas. Again, for my new viewers and some of you who just started watching, I've been, without using the word end of life doula or having a business card and saying I'm at EOLD, which stands for end of life doula. I've been doing this. It's soon going to be heading for 2 years. My very first one. I'm not going to say names because privacy. We're not bound by HIPAA laws, but I take HIPAA very, very seriously as a registered nurse, and I still have my license both in Kentucky and PA. So I started helping an adult child, she's a daughter, over in India, who would write to me in English and share the struggles of her mother's journey, who had Alzheimer's disease, and going through so many conflicting things, and just needed not only somebody to just listen to encourage, to ask questions and brainstorm without judgment or saying this is a good idea versus bad. Validate feelings and encourage. And I'm so grateful to God and so grateful for my hospice experience because I was able to tell her when the time come just from these frequent interactions. When I say frequent, it wasn't necessarily daily. Sometimes it would be every 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it would be several times a week. But I was able to tell her towards the end, we're in the, I told you a year ago, she had about a year. And yes, for those watching, you can get relatively good with the understanding it's a clinical estimate, not in writing. I tend to be more accurate than not most of the time, but I'm never going to be God. So I was able to help her. And I've had other clients along the way. And in all transparency, all of this was free. I love my wife dearly. She chastises me. You keep giving stuff for free. How are you going to ever earn a living? That's its own part. I'm blessed with the book sales. Thank you for those buying my books. And she's working and on Social Security, and that could be its own ethical discussion, Peter, this or that, which is fine if you want to have one. But sticking to today's topic about getting out there and new doulas. So I'm new, even though I've been doing this electronically, and I'm in these social media forums, and people are asking just this week, just a couple days ago, I'm brand new to this. Somebody posted in the one forum, I am brand new to this. At this point in time, I cannot afford to go to a school. So my viewers are aware. Robert, I know you like watching my channel. I watch yours. I thank you so much. Robert has a channel about his adventures as a 77-year-old man, healthy and trying to stay that way, and walking and just being active and so on and so forth. And I appreciate you, Robert. But he brought up a couple videos ago, Peter, go into some details for here because there's people like me. I'm not sure what you're talking about if you use acronyms, abbreviations, or say something as if everybody in the world knows it. So when it comes to becoming an end-of-life doula, there's many routes to take. I faced this back in March, April of this year. I'm a hospice and palliative care registered nurse. I've been doing it often. I shouldn't say often. That's not the right word. I've been doing it for a number of years, and my experience, while some might question, oh, you've only did 6 years in hospice and I have 30, how are you acting that you might know more than me? Number one, maybe I don't, but mine was hard hitting just because of how many cases I handled in a short amount of time. I was the one juggling, 29, 30, whatever cases, and putting in 60 to 80 hours a week on average for some of the agencies, 90 hours. And if you put in that much and you invest yourself in your INFJ, where like you're either giving 100% or zero, and I'm giving 100%, you become a master, so to speak, of certain areas. I'm not saying I know it all, I don't. But so here, I was like, do I need to go to school? Do I need this? There's many routes to get a certification. And certification for end-of-life doulas is not like a CPA, certified public accountant. It's not like a CNA, certified nursing assistant, because the schools out there are not accredited, meaning that you don't get credits that you can transfer to another school. Not saying that you couldn't work something out on the side, but there's no governing body. There's no oversight committee. There's no regulations as to what goes into a school. What are they supposed to teach in order to say that when you graduate, you can be an end-of-life doula, that you have everything that you need? So I don't know. I've not done an audit for how many schools are out there, but they vary in price. The International Dual Life Movement tries to be extremely, extremely economical. I don't have all their prices memorized. Some of their courses after you become a doula are in the $250, $350 range, but the main courses tend to be $800 to under $1,000. For many people, that is a significant amount of money. I believe there's value to that because once you pay that fee once, as there's updates to the course you paid for, you get to audit that course for your life. 2 years later, they made major renovations to it. You take it again, zero pay. On top of that, you get the Business 101 classes thrown in for any of the end-of-life doula courses. I believe that's the case. I know it was for the intro course. So you get the business knowledge course. It's an entire course, not a single class. And then you get the continuing education classes for free for life. Now, the class I'm doing on Sunday, August 10th, I'm charging outsiders from that are non-students $10.95. I believe that is an extremely fair value. But can you imagine 12 times a year, every month taking a $10.95 course, just doing bare bones? I'm going to use round numbers. I'm going to go with the $10 just for easier math. That's $120, more than $120 a year on the continuing education that you get for free. But there are schools out there. There's one that I appreciate the people involved. This is going to sound weird. I appreciate the people involved. I'm not a fan of the tactics that are used to promote. Here's why it's worth what it's worth. But it's $7,997. But if you get it over the next 72 hours or less, it's $2,997. And then what? I'm not going to go down the rabbit trail too much. Look at what you would pay for registered nursing school, and that makes me want to scream, because that registered nursing school is an accredited school, has a governing body. I'm able to get my license endorsed in different states. Don't be unethical. That was an unbelievably unethical comparison. Yes, it's my opinion, but it's also the opinion of a lot of other people. Don't go there. But a person asked, staying on topic, I can't afford school. What do I need to do? With the big question literally written. I love this when they actually, because I help in social media in so many forums. I have a question, and they run a series of statements, and I didn't see a single question mark. And then I'm trying to decipher which statement that ends in a period is the question. So this was the question: do I have to network locally? Yes, yes. And that's the topic of today's video. Yes, you need to market locally. So to give you a picture of what that looks like, and I'm gonna deal with two separate cases. Case one: business breakfasts, business lunches. Look at your local chamber of commerce. I'm not saying you have to join. Uh, I need to reach out to the Berea Chamber of Commerce. Please consider having tiers, because while I believe their monthly fee is fair for somebody who's literally brand new out of the gate, it's more expensive than other things. It's like the decision: do I pay for food and rent, or do I pay for my medicine, or do I pay for this versus that? It's high enough to be an ouch for a completely brand new business. I'm not saying it's unfair. It is what it is. But look at your Chamber of Commerce and see what events they're having. Is there a business breakfast that you can go to, a business lunch, a business dinner? Look at your small business development. I forget whether it's committee, council, court, whatever the C stands for. But look at that. And they have events. So for me, I started, for those following my doula journey, I started, Anna invited me into the International Life Movement towards the end of April. I started as part of cohort 25, which I graduated from July 16th. But I started taking the classes in early May. And so in early May, even though I didn't have a single business card, nothing, I didn't even know if I was going to get a business number, I started going to the business breakfast. Now, I mentioned I'm autistic, high functioning, and I'm an introvert. And I, I, I freeze up, I get shy, but I'm going. And a lot of times I'm out there in a corner and trying to be invisible. And when it comes time to speak, trying to not whisper and be heard. And because I'm an overcompulsive planner, I will practice my elevator pitches sometimes for an hour or two, usually the day before. And so I've been doing this now May, June, July, we're now in August. And some months they'll have 2 or 3 of these events. So what's the fruit of this? What's the fruit of this? Peter, are you wasting your time? So right now the fruit's still in progress, but what's happening, and this is why I made this video for today. Laura Wick, if you ever watch my videos, Laura, I appreciate you. Laura Wick runs the Let's Grow Berea social Facebook group. So yes, I do promote locally, again, electronic. And she also operates a nonprofit and she runs a craft, and I'm still learning. But like she approached me, Peter, I'm so glad that you're coming to these events. We need to hear more of what you have to offer. Now, that was not the purpose of the event, by the way, so I didn't get to go into what I have to offer. But I did get to have a discussion with her, the very healthy one, saying, parents, we're planning for births where, I brought up that analogy, and she's like, yes, yes, and we need to do better. So there are doors opening up. And in July, the SBDC had a lunch and learn at Native Bagel. And I went to that. I almost didn't go. I was scared. I'm being transparent in who I am. I get panic attacks. I get very nervous. I almost didn't go, but I went. I literally did sit in a corner and I tried to hide. But I went, and God is so good because God knows where I'm at. And three nurses from CHI St. Joseph's, that's literally 5 minutes from where I live, sat at the table next to me, unplanned. And they all asked for business cards on the way out. One was the director of nursing for the hospital. You can't get any higher on the nursing side. One was a cardiovascular manager, and she said she's going to pass my cards to the case managers. And she's on LinkedIn, so I reached out to her and I thanked her. And she said, she passed, and I'm trying right now for it's coming out in tomorrow's video, so you're going to hear it early. But I am running several community projects to try to promote what I'm doing. And it's all with the gear for when we talk about this, and this I'll bring this up more in tomorrow's video, we really have to answer the question, what's in it for others? What is in it for everyone else but us? I'm not saying we don't matter. We have to earn a living. I remember my wife teasing me. But so here I'm working on an initiative to do early adoption of palliative care in Kentucky, specifically Madison County, Kentucky. I literally just started this on Monday, August 4th. Well, technically August 3rd was the brainstorm idea. That's going to get into the second thing that I'm going to bring up. The first thing is the second thing still out there in the community. But let me lead into that. So I'm going to these events, business grant writing class, and even though I might not be able to write for a grant, I'm going and I'm getting my name out there, as nervous and stumbling as I am at times. And I had my elevator pitch, which I actually do want to give you before the video ends. But the other thing that I did is I joined a caregiver support group, and I went to the first meeting of this brand new group Sunday, August 3rd. And that's where the idea that I need to work on this is every caregiver. I was the only person who wasn't an active caregiver. I'm so thankful that I was invited, and they were thankful to have me. And I did share with them. And again, this is where it's going to be, Peter, how are you ever going to earn money? But I did tell them, and I meant it, whatever I do for that group is going to be free. For me to you, for my viewers, I am not rich or have money rolling left and right, but I'm a strong philanthropist. I know I have to give back to the community I serve. My wife and I just moved in mid-November of 2024, late last year. I'm new to everybody. It's not like I grew up here. It's not like I know who went to high school with whom and who went to college with whom. I am brand new on the ground. And on top of that, I don't use the word death doula around here because when I say the words, it's literally the doe in the headlights. And I've tried different variations, and what works most is life transition coach. And even then, I have to go into details, which is fine. I'm not saying this is all wrong. It's part of the journey. So, but in this group, every last one could benefit from palliative care. So I'm working now on a project. I have a major project, which is building a free community list of what's available for resources in Madison County. This is going to help me when I get paid clients, by the way. This is part of my toolkit. So if you're out there and you're a new doula, and even if you're an experienced doula, you should have a toolkit. Not only Barbara Karn's books, Gone From My Sight, Pain, it was a Pain at the End of Life, The 11th Hour. You should not only have her books, hopefully you'll have some of my books as well, but you should have handouts. Palliative care versus hospice care. What is an end-of-life doula and why do you need one? You should be developing your own marketing materials that you should have at the ready. I'm not saying print out the gazoo, but saved and ready to print. And so as part of this picture, I want to have free to the community, and I will be utilizing it as a doula, whether it's paid or volunteer. Here are your resources. You had a traumatic brain injury. Kentucky has a traumatic brain injury fund. You have an acquired brain injury. Kentucky has an acquired brain injury fund. You have this going on. You have that going on. There's a resource for it. I believe it's called the PACE program. They're in Kentucky, Helping Hands. I want to have all the who's the contact, what's the telephone number, what's the web address, and so on. So as a subset of that, I want to encourage early adoption of palliative care in Kentucky. And I'm approaching that from several different angles. Yesterday, I'm on the phone, got voicemail, UK Health, palliative care. Matthew West, registered nurse, left a message. How do I connect with people with you? Is it clinic-based, outpatient-based, where they come to the hospital for service, or do you actually have people that can go into a home? Are there any limitations for eligibility? By the way, technically, there should not be any, because if you have symptomology that's uncomfortable, complex medical situations, there's a whole laundry list for what should qualify for palliative care. Technically, there should not be a no, but everybody, it's their business, so they can say what's not a fit. So I don't want to assume anything. So I'm trying to gather this information. So here, there's that. I just recently became the state ambassador for Kentucky for the Hospice and Palliative Care Nursing Association, HIPNA. So I'm reaching out to, they have a section on their website discussion group, who could help me. I found out that the Palliative Care Association at large has a council for Kentucky. So I reached into the social worker who's running that, and thankfully she did get back to me yesterday, and she's going to inquire for resources. So I'm on the ground from a point of view with that. So that was the second thing, going to caregiver support groups. Go to groups that are business groups. Go to groups that tie into what you're doing. It doesn't have to be death and dying. Uh, there are those of my friends out there in the doula world that are doing death cafes. I do want to give a word of caution. If you're doing death cafes, there are certain areas that are trademark, and you have to run the event in a certain way. Follow the rules and regulations. Know your state laws. I'm not giving financial advice, legal advice, medical advice, blah, 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 all the disclaimers. But know the area that you operate for what's safe to say and what isn't. Know your scope of practice. Be transparent for what you're doing and be out there on the ground. So hopefully if you're a new end-of-life doula, or you've been one, but you're like, gee, I can't get my business off the ground. Number one, first and foremost, I feel called to help who I can help. Comment below, message me. I am not claiming to have answers. And to the degree I can help you with answers freely, there it goes again with the free word, I will. If it gets into a consulting relationship, I'll say, hey, wait a moment. This is what I can do for free. This is what would be for charge. And by the way, if you go to compassioncrossing.info, it talks about that. There's over 450, right now it's over 460 articles about chronic and terminal illnesses that are free articles. And then it talks into, do you want to book me for a free 30-minute consultation to see where we might be fit for being paid for me. But that's there. Talk, brainstorm. Number two, get out there in your community. Now, there are end-of-life doulas that do it virtual, fine. But even then, get out there in your community. Let people know around, word of mouth. You will get known. As I'm getting out there, people are seeing Peter. He shows up at this regularly. If he fumbles and stutters and whatnot, he's somebody that if he can show up for these events, you think he's going to show up for somebody who's dying? If he's proven that he gave his word for something, this goes back to Monday's video about resilience, where the volunteer coordinator, local hospice, gave her word. I'm going to give these 2 hospice books to the nurses, and didn't. If you keep your word, that shows you're a person of integrity. If you don't keep your word, you've already broken integrity. So by getting out there in the community, you're proven that the community matters to you. You're proven that if this stuff matters to you, bigger things will. You're proving yourself in small ways. So be a part of that community. Reach out to me. If you be, and also, by the way, if you become a member, I should say a student of IDLM, just one class is all that it takes. And then there's so many benefits. Anna has, I believe it's a monthly mentor call. It's not a call, it's a Google Meet, I should say. You get to go on and say, Anna, or sometimes Anna can't make it, and that's where I'll be there just in case, and Pam Carter and other instructors. How can we help you? And they have the movement, which is a social media like application that's private, where you can go to, like, I did this when I first started. I'm trying to do brochures, and I did brochures for IT, but what do I even write and I know there's AI out there, but what's the layout? And by the way, Mallory, if you watch my videos, Mallory did not go to International Doula Life Movement, but she, like me, is a collaborator. And so she actually showed on the one Facebook group, here's her brochure for seniors. And she actually gave front and back, and it's like, wow. Now, I don't copy and paste, and I couldn't in this regard because Mallory also is involved, I believe, real estate and other things. So there are certain things I can't even do that Mallory can. But by collaborating, giving ideas, and so here, getting back to the IDLM and the movement, I'm going, what do I do? And so people are responding, and printer questions and all these business questions. It's like everybody got everybody's back. How wonderful could that be? Wow. Wow. So I'm gonna end here. This is just slightly longer than what I would have liked to have been, and I do thank you so much for your patience. There is a video coming out on Wednesday. I don't know what it'll be for Friday of this week, but I just wanted to encourage those of you who are new, or maybe you've been struggling, you're not sure how to get business, get out there in the community. In the not too distant future, we're on the landing strip now. I am going to be doing, I started, by the way, getting onto this and then got off track. I'm going to be having my own community events. I'm not doing death over dinner. I'm not doing a death cafe. Not that they're wrong. It's just there are too many restrictions. That's why I shared know the requirements if you go certain routes of discussion. I rather have liberty, freedom and liberty. So if I come up with my own route of doing things, um, I'm not under such restrictions. Like, I believe it's Death Cafe, you can't advertise. And it's not that I want to be pushy and say, use me. I actually reached out to There's a bluegrass death doula in Lexington actually reached out to her. Hey, it's not that you can't come to Madison County and I can't go to Lexington, but is there anywhere where we can collaborate? And how can I refer business to you? You know, what's your specialty? How could I be a help to you? And maybe, I don't know, time will tell. But I'm planning to do workshops and seminars. I have a draft of a workshop for seniors that I want to offer in the assisted living and the senior care centers that's actually just, and you're free to copy on this, by the way. I'm trying to collaborate with you. Uh, but it's actually going to be involving some very light exercises and activities. It's going to be a senior health type of event. I'm pausing because I want you to start like, Peter, what does this have to do with death and dying? How are you going to advertise, your business if you're helping seniors, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, I don't know who's going to attend, do chair and other type of light exercises. One, I'm still learning how I'm going to integrate this. I'm laughing a little bit because it's still a work in progress, but I will have brochures. And I do know the family members are going to be involved in one way, shape, or form. This is just from doing the hospice and other things. And I know that the people who are running the activities are going to be, Peter, what do you do for a living? I'm going to be giving them my card. And I am going to first find out if they're willing to pay a small fee for this. One of the people on the mentor call was sharing that she's actually paid by the local chamber where she's at to do a death-like talk. Wow, she's actually paid to speak about death by her local chamber of commerce. That's what we're talking about, getting yourself out there in the community. You do not know what fruits it'll bear. And I'm sharing with you, I'm 62. I never imagined starting a brand new business. In fact, after I sold Dynamic Net Inc. To Jeffrey Kolonsky, that was either in 2011, 2012, I was having people come after me. I want to say after, I mean reach out to me. Peter, why don't you go into this business or that business, or I need your help with this IT issue or that IT issue. I'll pay you. And again, this is not about riches. It's just money's never been my motivating factor in life. It was like my focus right now is nursing. I'm going to nursing school. I need to be able to pass, get into clinicals. This is 100%. If you look it up on INFJs are either on or off. INFJs are 100% or zero. There's no halfway mark with anyone who's INFJ, if they're a genuine INFJ. And so I'm 100% nursing school. And so I never, ever imagined that I'm going to start my own business, Compassion Crossing LLC. I left that world and now I'm back in it again. And I don't know where this will lead. God is in charge, not me. I'm not trying to preach to anyone. I don't know where to land. I was on a phone call I mentioned earlier. I was on a phone call late last night from a spouse whose loved one, we don't know how long. And she asked, am I still practicing as a nurse? And I said, I really don't know how to answer that question. I got my Kentucky license. I don't know how to answer that question. Um, but get out there. It's scary. I don't know everything that's going to happen at the end of the day. God's in charge. I know some of you don't believe in God. I'm not trying to push it, but I'm making the effort. I'm being consistent. I'm putting one foot in front of the other. So we're all in before I say goodbye. Please humor me. And if you want to leave now, I can't see you. Leave. I didn't see you come, so to speak. This is not one of those premieres, and that's not even a two-way like Google Meet or Zoom. But let me give you what I was going to tell at breakfast. And you could laugh if this is off the wall, Or maybe you'll comment below saying that was a good thing, Peter. How I was going to go is, good morning, everyone. My name's Peter Abraham. I'm a second career registered nurse from Pennsylvania, recently moved to Kentucky. My focus is in the areas of advanced illness, specifically those that qualify for palliative care or hospice care. Those are two separate areas. I'm also an avid book author. I've published 21 books for hospice nurses, many of which are used nationwide for orientation and training. My one book on hospice eligibility, I'm actually been invited to be the first nurse keynote speaker at an interdisciplinary conference in South Carolina in March of next year. I published 22 books for caregivers, 4 books for holistic nurses, of which one book is used by a national agency to promote LPNs and nurses with the appropriate education and certifications to be able to remote work leave for insurance and other providers. I've written 5 books for end-of-life doulas, for which I am a certified end-of-life doula through the International Doula Life Movement. I'm also an instructor in charge of their continuing education program and developing a brand new course on one of my bestsellers in the doula genre, Crucial End-of-Life Discussions, that is going to be available in early 2026. I started Compassion Crossing LLC in Kentucky to help healthcare organizations as well as individuals, caregivers, and family members have improved patient outcomes with reduced stress and anxiety when caring for a loved one who has a chronic or terminal illness. A good referral for me would be a healthcare organization that recognizes the need for staff development from an independent party. This might be how to do safe discharges from a hospital, the difference between palliative care and hospice care, understanding different chronic diseases and illnesses and terminal, and who you might involve in navigating that journey, how to help their staff deal with anticipatory grief before a loss or grief in general. And for individuals, caregivers, and family members, a good referral would be somebody who is overwhelmed. They just got told there's a very severe illness. It might be terminal. What direction is available? And so that's what I was going to share this morning. In practice, it ran a little bit under 2 minutes, depending on whether I went into the Pennsylvania issue or not. And I share that with you, by the way, not to show you that I practice, but also for my fellow doulas. How do you say your spiel, and so on and so forth. If that gives you help, then I'm glad to have been helpful. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.